Right into it. First up, we have Jen Madden from Australia Retirement Trust. I have known Jen since I started. So Jen was my first live pro training. So I feel like I'm kind of like an honorary member of A.R.T. Previously, QSuper, for anyone else who doesn't know what Australia Retirement Trust is. That team has gone through so many iterations of live pro, that it's amazing, and ever-evolving governance and all the changes that they've had to do. So Jen's going to take us on that journey today with her presentation. Thanks, Jen. Yeah.
Good morning, thank you. Firstly, I just want to thank livepro for having me here today. Just a quick introduction, my name is Jen Madden, so I lead the knowledge management team who are responsible for overseeing and governing knowledge management for Australian Retirement Trust, or A.R.T as we like to call it. As many of you may be aware, we recently went through a merger, and to put that into perspective on how large that merger was, we expanded from a fund of 700,000 members to a fund with over 2.3 million members, and counting. So this expansion did have significant impact to our knowledge management system, and I'm just excited to share our journey through expansion, the challenges we faced, and the strategies we employed to overcome them. There are many components, obviously, that go into make knowledge management successful, but at a foundational level, knowledge management system needs to be easy to use, and users need to have the confidence in knowledge. A big shout out to livepro and their support team for equipping us with a system, if set up correctly, is definitely easy to use. And whilst we do play a role in making that easy to use, when it comes into confidence in knowledge, that responsibility does lay with us to ensure that that is achieved. So if there is no confidence in knowledge or in the information that is being accessed, then the trust in the system will be gone. So you might be sitting here today knowing your knowledge management system needs large changes. You might be expanding your business, or like us, going through a merger. Our journey is how you go through large-scale change while maintaining that trust, and how we successfully navigated that. So to give you a complete picture, I'm going to start from the very beginning. So we started our livepro journey back in 2021. We were just with QSuper at that stage, and we launched HivePro, which is the name of our knowledge management system, in April 2021. When we did our launch, we used a phased approach for the migration of content from our previous system to our new knowledge management system, and we started with our contact centre. We worked through to our A.R.T Life, which is the insurance company, operations, advice, product and complaints. So as you can see, we're doing more than just our contact centre. 15 months later, we had successfully onboarded 600 staff members into HivePro. We rewrote and transitioned over 1,000 knowledge articles. At that stage, we're averaging about 30 pieces of feedback coming through a week, and in the first year of launching our HivePro, our views reached over 1.3 million. I'm not sure how you guys feel about these figures, but for our small team back then, this seemed like a significant amount of work and high engagement. And the significant engagement for us demonstrates the high impact of our knowledge management system and HivePro. At this point as well, managing content was quite straightforward for us. We had clear understanding of all the articles that were in HivePro, including ownership and the review schedules. We established really early on governance and implemented fortnightly reporting, monthly, quarterly reviews, as well as community of practice meetings. So things were running fairly smoothly for us. But on the 28th of February, 2022, there was a significant change for us. SunSuper and QSuper merged to form Australian Retirement Trust, one of the largest superannuation funds in Australia. Overnight, our products and our services doubled. And by July 2022, we commenced onboarding our heritage SunSuper teams and their content into HivePro. And to support this expanded work, our team did grow from a team of 3 to a team of 8. And again, we used a phased approach for the migration and the integration, and we added an extra 5 more teams to HivePro. By July 2023, the migration of SunSuper and their users and the content, was completed. Let's have another look at those stats and see what it looks like after the merger and incorporating the heritage SunSuper teams into HivePro. So our users grew, to go back, we went from 6 categories, we now have 11 categories sitting in HivePro. We grew our users, we now got 1,200 users using HivePro, which is a growth of 100%. We now got 3,000 knowledge articles, which is a growth of 200%. Our feedback is now averaging about 70 pieces of feedback a week. That's 133%. And our views in that year that we onboarded SunSuper reached over 3.1 million for that year. So if, like me, you thought the original stats and volumes achieved were a lot, wow. We were certainly reached a new level of management and engagement, and managing each article as we had before was just no longer feasible. During this period as well, I'll be completely honest with you and let you know our team's capacity was strained. So I went on maternity leave midway through that migration, followed shortly by 2 other team members. So as you know, as much as you can plan an onboarding and a migration, some things you can't, but these things happen. And despite that reduced capacity, the workload for our team persisted. Our responsibilities as well does not only fall with knowledge management, but we also look after training for the business. So with large volume of changes in our business, training really did start to become our primary focus once that migration was finished. And a lot of the knowledge management tasks were handed back to the business to manage, the business unit, We took on at that stage probably a more decentralized approach to knowledge management. So we, as a team, we did pause our quality reviews, we paused our reporting and our community and practice meetings, leaving that content management largely up to the individual business units. I'm not saying that these completely stopped happening, just that there was that lack of that centralized oversight. And although we made ourselves available for technical support issues or any system access support, it was really up to the different the BUs to look after. But one thing our team does really well is we're always reassessing and looking for continuous improvement opportunities. And when I returned from maternity leave, it was clear that something needed to change with our decentralized management approach. And we knew something needed to change because we were averaging at that stage 170 pieces of feedback of unresolved feedback a month. And we're taking on average 30 to 40 business days to action, which is definitely outside of our governance standard. But without that centralized team to oversee, there was just no consequence for the slow turnaround. There was also at that stage evident issues of content design and reviews, and trust in the system for us was at an all-time low. So we knew something needed to change. And for context, we do face some unique issues. So superannuation is highly regulated. If it goes through regular change, failure to give people correct information can lead to reputational damage and, for us, potential breaches with governing body. So it is so important that the information is being actively managed to ensure we can achieve, like I mentioned earlier, that confidence in knowledge. And as evidence of the value that we place at A.R.T. at getting knowledge management right, we reached out to the experts, livepro and Brooke, for assistance. Brooke and Ollie, they came in and they facilitated a 2-day workshop with us where we mapped together our current state and we determined a future target state. To achieve that target state and to refocus on knowledge management, we also decided to split our team into 2 streams. So we decided to have a training stream and a knowledge management stream. This allowed each stream to receive the dedicated attention that it deserved. And at that time, I took on the lead for knowledge management, supported by 3 specialists. And with our newly formed, motivated team, we did forge forward and with renewed energy and enthusiasm to develop a plan to achieve this target state based on the following fundamentals. So we wanted to have strong governance, actively managed feedback, insightful reporting, valued quality reviews, educational community practice, mandatory training for all authors, and we really wanted to revive and strengthen engagement. And given our previous framework, which was that decentralised approach to management, these fundamentals were key to us rebuilding that relationship and regaining the trust in the system and our team. So we made it clear to the business we were heading back to that centralised management approach, which was fully supported by that business. And of course, Brooke and livepro were there to support us every step of the way. I'm happy to confirm, as of today, these have all been accomplished, but I won't go through and cover everything we did to achieve these points. I'll just go through some of the more impactful changes we made and what we did to achieve them. One of the first things we did was we acted really fast to rebuild our brand. And to help us achieve this, we did things like assigned a dedicated knowledge specialist to the individual teams using HivePro. We created these chat rooms for real-time support if they needed any assistance with their HivePro. We also, of course, organised regular catch-ups with our stakeholders. But one of the more influential things we did was we showcased our team's quality and value. An example of how we did this is we actually did a big rebrand of our homepages. So don't judge us too much, but this was as it looked like originally. I'll come back to the different colours as well. So it's functional, sure, but remember we started back in 2021 too. So. And then we went to this, which probably looks a lot more like what you guys are using at the moment, using a lot of the HivePro features, using buttons there. So we worked really fast to try to make it look a little bit more interactive for our users. We also rebranded our author toolkit. So we went from this, which again was just links on a page that people could get access to, and we went to this, again using a lot of the livepro features where you could hover over the little buttons to quickly access the information you needed. And again, you click it, it'll give you more information there, and using the accordings as well on how to do certain things. And great for the system to look good and be user-friendly, but if the information's not correct and there's no confidence and knowledge, then it's pointless. So, alongside the rebrand, we worked really hard and really quickly to revise our whole governance. So we revised the whole governance in consultation with risk, and we established mandatory reviews and owners for every single knowledge article. With over 3,000 knowledge articles, it was essential to manage and report on ownership and review dates effectively. Consequences for non-compliance were introduced, which was incident reporting. So we introduced incidents if they weren't doing their reviews, which was definitely an effective motivator at A.R.T. This change was a significant step in changing behaviours to content management, and was so important in helping us to be able to rebuild our brand and confidence in that knowledge. So if you're not doing this today, this is a must. We also resumed our reporting, but we did it with purpose this time, and it was like the focus was adherence to those key governance items. So was feedback being actioned within those mandated timeframes? Were reviews being completed? We also had incident tracking, and we added a rotating did you know section with some insightful stats just to enhance the engagement. Again, if you want strong governance that is adhered to, reporting is another important thing to do so everyone is aware what is and isn't getting done. With these initial changes, we did start to see a significant uplift of content and feedback management. Feedback quickly dropped from that 175 unactioned, taking around 30 to 40 business days, to 30 unactioned feedback a month, and we're taking on average around 3 business days to action those feedback coming through. So knowledge management started to become the focus again. And yes, the steady stream of incoming feedback did not reduce. We were just getting better at keeping up with the workload. And managing feedback is also, again, a really important step in that building that confidence and knowledge. And with our renewed approach to mandating reviews, we saw a 36% in HivePro maintenance in the first 3 months and a 47% jump within 6 months. So as you can see, for us, nothing gets the work done faster than the fear of an incident. In addition, we recently sent out a HivePro engagement survey to the business, and the results from our primary user group were that 85% find the system easy to use, and approximately 92% think the system positively contributes to efficiencies in their role and have confidence in their knowledge. These results show a significant improvement in engagement of staff. Previous year, we actually did not release a survey just because the overwhelming negative sentiment was evident and we needed to work on that. But with more uplift initiatives planned for this year, we can only see this continue to increase. But it's not just the survey results. We get overwhelmingly positive feedback on an ad hoc basis. Even recently, we had someone who was able to use HivePro to service a member end-to-end in real time without any prior knowledge on that actual topic. From a knowledge management system, what more can you ask for? Again, I've only mentioned some of the uplift tasks we've completed to achieve these results, and it is coming up to a year since we mapped our target state. And these results demonstrate we have successfully met our goal and the users now have that confidence and knowledge. This achievement is testament to a collective effort of our team. And a strong supportive team and a company that values knowledge management is crucial to its success. Our leadership team regularly highlights knowledge management in meetings and in town halls. Again, that just really reinforces its importance to staff. But the biggest difference we have found is that having a dedicated, centralised, active management team. So I'm just going to go back to those stats that we looked at originally and show you where we're at today. When I show you the growth, it is just compared to year one. So you'll see that now. So we now, as at today, we have 1,600 users in HivePro, which is a growth of 167% since year one. We now have 3,300 knowledge articles, a growth of 230%. We're averaging about 80 pieces of feedback a week, 167% growth. And last year, our total views reached over 4.6 million. But let's be clear, knowledge management is not a set and forget, and it is that time of year again, we reassess our position and determine our new target state. And this year, with some great insight from our recent engagement survey and with the introduction in AI, we're truly excited for the year ahead. So with significant change, we did have to revolutionise how we manage knowledge management. And in closing, I'd just like to share some useful tips that were made possible through the great features and support of livepro and that have worked really well for us as an expanding business. Colour coding knowledge. So we have 11 different categories sitting in our HivePro that relate to the different teams. So we look to align information with our branding colours. It allows the users to quickly identify which content is relevant to which teams. Reduce duplication. So use that shared and embedded category. So we've set that up recently for things like disclaimers, business rules, glossaries, and common scripting. This helps ensure that single source of truth and consistent language throughout the system and helps with ongoing maintenance. This is actually something I wish we implemented from the very beginning, and now we are playing a little bit of catch-ups with it, but with AI coming in, super important that there is only one response it can generate its answer from, and this can help. Mandatory reviews are mandatory fields, so make mandatory owners and review dates and include them in governance for consequences for non-compliance. Train your authors, so limit the number of authors and ensure they complete mandatory training to keep those standards up. So we have a mandatory e-learning that they must complete prior to us giving them that author access, and then once they get that author access, we have a 1-hour training session that we provide to them. Clearly define what can go in and what doesn't go into knowledge management. This can improve search functionality, and it's also, again, a work in progress with us, and it links back to the work we're doing to reduce duplication. And lastly, of course, always look for those improvement opportunities. Some of the best suggestions we had is from users themselves, so make sure you do seek their feedback. We do this through our engagement survey. We also do regular check-ins, and we engage with those livepro community pages as well. Some of the tips I've actually included on here we got from that community pages. And after 3.5 years on this journey with livepro, I can say our investment into knowledge management at A.R.T has been invaluable. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to any questions on our journey.
Thanks so much, Jen. Jen was a little nervous coming today, but she did a great job. Give her another round of applause. There's just a couple of things I, of course, would like to say because I talk a lot. When Jen says that they had to redo all the knowledge, they literally had just gone live with every business unit. They'd literally done it. And you know when you get to that aha moment of, oh yes, the knowledge is out there, we just need to maintain now? They had to literally go back to the drawing board and start all over again. So I want to be really clear, it actually was a massive task. The other thing that I wanted to kind of call out to is those workshops. I like that you're being polite about them. I literally locked the team in a room for 2 days and wouldn't let them leave. And we process mapped everything out. Nobody likes to process map unless you're a BA. So that was, but I think it was really kind of insightful to actually map it out and actually see, when they visually could see the things, and I'd be like, but why do we do this? Why do we do that? Like, when you can kind of see it makes a very big difference to just doing the everyday. I do have one question. So I think a big question that everyone will have is, how did you get risk on board to make the knowledge owners mandatory and the incidents part? Because that is very hard to do.
Yeah, I think for us, like how it works is we had to make sure our governance document, and we had this Hive Pro usage standard really up to scratch. So we had to make sure everything was outlined about the mandatory, what date, the time frames that things are mandated. And once we had that, we could present that to risk and have that conversation go, okay, so we've documented this, we've trained them on this, they know about the governance there. What are the consequences? What can we introduce as consequences for not completing this? And that's when they agreed, well, if they don't follow the process that has been clearly documented and communicated, then that is a risk to the business. So that's then an incident. So once they all agreed with that, we let the business units know. And to be honest, we're quite used to that at A.R.T, lodging risks, like incidents for things when we don't meet those policy expectations. So it was actually pretty accepted by the business quite quickly and quite easy for us to introduce.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions?
Hey guys, Ollie, I'm Brooke's co-partner. I do want to call out as well, just in terms of with Australian Retirement Trust and their centralised governance process, if you're a smaller organisation and you don't have as large resourcing, you can still implement governance. It might be simple things like a styles and standard guide, just to make sure you've got consistency across your content, or you might have a little author toolkit in your knowledge base, could be a category, and that's where you can put something like how you manage feedback, how you send out announcements. So you can start small, have small little guides to use for your governance, just to ensure you've got consistency across your site. So you can work towards sort of a large governance model, but if you are only 1 or 2 people, you can still implement governance on a small scale through something simple as styles and standards.
I've got a question down here.
Sorry, it's just a real quick one, and I've got no voice. How many people are in your knowledge team at the moment?
So at the moment, we do have myself, and then we've got 2 other specialists that work with us and an admin. And then we have our training stream, which has 5 people. So overall, we're about a team of 8, but 3 of us specialise in knowledge management. But we do have a hub and kind of spoke model. So we're considered the hub. So we oversee the governance of it and make sure those standards are being met. We provide the advice around like design of content if they need that and how to write things efficiently. But we have individual business units that also have specialists. So our contact centre, for instance, have 2 people that work in there that specialise in knowledge management as well, and they're the ones in there actioning the feedback. We've got the same in operations. They've got specialists within there. So whilst we have our team, the business really do invest in knowledge management. So we have a lot of people throughout the business that look after it for us.
Hi. Sorry. I've just got 2 questions. One in regards to feedback. You've mentioned that there was sort of fluctuating depending on timeframes and users. Did you find that it was the same consistent types of feedback, or was it more complex sort of requests versus more simplistic ones? And what was the turnaround for that?
So that's a good one, because we do have different timeframes depending on the complexity of it as well. So we say if it's a minor feedback, we give them about 5 business days to action it, but we're still averaging about 3 business days for them to get through all that. But for more complex ones, we give them up to 10 to 15 business days. The feedback that we see, not always consistent. Yeah, it's probably ad hoc. Like, because we've got a lot of change going on, and we have a lot of like rules and things outside that we have to make sure that we're aligning to. I think with that type of change, it's like normally about those new articles that are coming through. Can you make this more clearer? Can you add more information about that? Everyone always wants more. So yeah, it's not always consistent. We hope it's not, because I think that then we're not doing something right if it's always kind of the same thing. Yeah.
My staff can take a note. I lasted a half an hour before grabbing the microphone. You mentioned consistency a couple of times. Can you explain what you mean by consistency, why it's important, and whether you got any feedback about that?
So we have consistent templates that we try to get across all the different BUs, but we understand the different requirements, because we have things like Art Life, we've got operations, and we've got the contact centre. So they all do have different needs, and we have templates that are designed for that business unit and their type of needs. So we do oversee that and make sure that if you're in operations and you open up a procedure and you go into every single different type of procedure, that it's the same type of flow, the same type of look and feel. Same with the contact centre. They actually do it really, really well. They've got their kind of spills that they have, and it's the same kind of layout every single time. So we oversee that and make sure that they're using those templates correctly, that there is that consistent look and feel, and so people can, if they pick up one, they could easily pick up the next one, and it's the same kind of process for them.
I had a quick extension to that last question. Just very curious. We're at a similar point of time around the how you've got people in the contact centre, knowledge management specialists. Are they dedicated roles, or are they kind of on top of their existing roles?
So they're called Member Services Business Enablement Team. So they don't all just look after HivePro. They also look after any kind of continuous improvement opportunities for the contact centre. I do have Helen here from the contact centre at the moment, so correct me if I'm wrong. But a lot of their role does surround the improvements to HivePro, managing that feedback and making sure that everything is there that the staff needed. But they do also have registers outside of HivePro. We have that through SharePoint about just any general continuous improvement opportunities, and that's what their team focuses on. But they're dedicated roles, yes.
Hi, just wondering, you mentioned that you measure your success and report on governance, SLAs, turnarounds, and those sorts of things. Do you have any other success measures that you measure? So, efficiencies, ways to tie it back to return on investment. So performance measures and metrics.
Yeah, we're doing a bit of work on that at the moment. So we've just moved up into a business enablement team, and we're working closely with the reporting team for them to take over it, because at the moment it does lay with our team to do a lot of the reporting. But a lot of the things we are doing our measurements on, like we do that engagement survey, again, a measurement for, meeting the requirements there, and then feedback management. Are we doing it within the SLAs? And then the reviews as well. Are things getting done in time? But that's what we're doing at the moment for our success measures, but we're doing a bit of work at the moment.
Hey Jen, great presentation. I love seeing livepro or hypro used outside of the contact centre, and we saw so many different departments using it. Was that the company's vision from the start, or was that driven from the success of hypro inside the contact centre?
It was actually from the very beginning, because we had previously been using like SharePoint, and we actually prior to this was using a system called MS360 with a Power BI overlay for our knowledge management system. I don't recommend it. But so they had all their knowledge sitting in there. We knew we needed to get it out. So when we started this, the vision was that we were going to get them all into it. So through the demonstrations, and we did go first with the contact centre because we wanted them to see the potential. And as soon as they started seeing how it could look and feel, they were all wanting to come on board anyway. I think that those work instructions work really well for operations. Our area of business, like we have to have everything documented as a legal responsibility for us to make sure that that is all there. And one of the really good things that we love about this system as well is that all the different versions are tracked, and you can easily get access to that. That has saved us a lot of times, especially through our complaints team. They're a big fan of this because of that, evidence that we're able to provide.
Jennifer, hi, really good insights, thank you. You talked about mandatory learning for new authors.
Yes.
Do you have a schedule of mandatory refreshers across the year to ensure that consistency too?
Yeah, so we reach out to all of our stakeholders. So that e-learn that we release, that's an annual e-learn that they have to do. And then at that particular stage as well, we roll out to our stakeholders and we say, do you need any more refresher training? And on an ad hoc basis as well, if we identify that someone's reaching out to us a lot, we like a team, and we know that they have reviews coming up, we'll offer them that type of training. But that's the only, formalised type of stuff. It's more ad hoc.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Jen? No?
Yes. Sorry, just one last one.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, you did mention about colour coding.
Yes.
Was there any feedback that you received since you implemented that into the system?
So we did it from the very beginning because we just thought how, especially when we had so many different teams. And whilst with the contact centre, we do lock down the knowledge, so just the contact centre see their content. But when we open up and we have general users in there, or we have operations who also can then access member services information, we came together and we kind of thought that through, and we just go, well, how can they easily identify that information? So we implemented that, and we obviously tested that with a few users first to make sure that that met the mark, and we did get positive feedback from that. It's really easy to identify quickly that, okay, that's for me, especially when you're on the call, because in our contact centre as well, we have two different type of products. We've got our QSuper product still, which is the legacy, and then we have our Australian retirement products. So with the contact centre, they can see all. They need to be able to quickly, when they're on the phone, click on an article and go, yep, that's for me, that's around the QSuper product, or that's for me, that's around the art. So it's worked really, really well.
Awesome. I'm just going to ask one more time. Any more questions? Yep. Tristan's got it.
Hi again. With your owners, so one of the challenges we have is, you've got process owners potentially at a more strategic level. And then when it comes to content, what we've found is difficult to navigate who actually owns the content versus the process. And mindful that if you go too high level, you've got a manager that potentially owns, 400 knowledge items or whatever. How did you differentiate? Would you say your process owners are the same as your content owners, or, in a hierarchy, at what level kind of are you angling it at, and how are you managing that amount of load that's put onto that role, potentially if they're, say, a manager in a contact centre that has a lot of other priorities. What kind of level would you say your content owners are at, and how do you manage the demand that's on them to be part of the reviews, etc.?
Yeah, so for that, because we get quite lucky, we've got a big investment into knowledge management. So we have like specialists that sit in the individual business unit. So generally, like for instance, member services, they have these called the MS Business Enablement Team. So they own all the content that sits in the contact centre, and they're responsible for the reviews. Now, whilst they're responsible for the reviews, they don't necessarily own the content. All of the content. So there is sometimes, if they identify that a change needs to happen with that, they'll have to then get that signed off through the appropriate parties. So they will go through a review and approval process there. But if nothing needs to change, it's quite a simple update. We do stagger the reviews as well. So we make sure that it's not all due in a particular month. So I know, for instance, the contact centre have 550 articles that they have to manage. So that is a lot of work. So it's really important that we, manage that appropriately and make sure that it's staggered for those reviews. It is like, what we do is at the owner level is that they kind of own the content and make sure it's right for their staff, but they have to then get it signed off by the appropriate parties and manage that time. So for reviews, we give them 5 business days again, just for minor reviews, which means like nothing much needs to change, no material changes. But if it is that a material change needs to happen, we allow for 15 business days for them to do that. That gives them enough time to go to the experts to get those wordings approved and signed off that is required. They can ask for extensions for that time frame, and then that is reviewed on a case-by-case basis, but we do consult risk. So if they ask for an extension, we have to then consult with risk to make sure that that is put in place, and then they'll have to lodge a ticket to request that. Yeah.
Any questions? Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.